Absolute Wonder Woman issue 10, Kelly Thompson writing with Hayden Sherman on the art. So, Wonder Woman's in the maze below Area 41. She's met Ferdinand. She's met this, was it Petra, the name of the siren?
Yep, siren.
Yep, and then we've got obviously this, was it Sela? Is the
Queen, was it Sela?
I think it was Sela, something like that.
I'm pulling up Absolute Wonder Woman on here. Anyways, she's the Queen, Clea. I know it wasn't Sela. You got the letters right, just in the wrong order.
So, close enough.
Yes.
Queen so Clea. Yeah, so we get an action scene where she's fighting the fishmen early on with Ferdinand. Layouts are obviously great from Sherman. Dig all that stuff. The big moment though comes when we get a full page spread of Ferdinand using himself as a shield to protect the others when they start firing arrows or whatever it is at them. And it's just this big sort of heroic sacrifice moment. Not that it kills him necessarily, but just this idea that he was willing to do this and says, hey, like, get her out of here. Like, promise me you'll protect her. So, you know, we get Wonder Woman running off. And, like, I mean, even to the idea that when Ferdinand falls to the ground, Clea is, like, surprised and angry that the others aren't, like, there behind them. Like, you know, she's, like, mad that they got away. So, it's a really good, fun, action-packed kind of intro to the book, which is kind of in 3 parts because you've got the big extended section in the middle, which is the flashback and more of Diana's childhood and her encounter with the god or a goddess this one night where she like armors up for the first time and takes out the axe. And the god's presented as a giant panther that's got a face covered in blood.
Yes.
Which is a hell of a visual. I'll give it that.
It is metal as hell.
Yeah. And what's interesting here is that Diana is like, I'm not going to fight. Like, there's no reason to fight. Like, I'm not going to stoop to that. I'm better than that. Right?
Yeah, and this is, you gotta remember too, this is like, not toddler, but little kid Diana that is sent out there with a helmet and an axe.
Like, what, 7 or 8 maybe? Is that kind of thing? Yeah.
And it's like...
It's not until the Panther God, and I'm not quite sure which god it's supposed to be off the top of my head, to be honest.
It's supposed to be Hecate. You find out at the end of the scene.
Right, okay,
it's Hecate.
Cool. So it's not until Hecate threatens a turtle that's like on a rock where Diana throws the axe in front and says, hey, you leave that turtle be. And like sort of stands her ground, and this is what makes her finally fight, is that she's not willing to let this turtle be harmed. It even says that, hey, yeah, lots of the creatures down here are kind of like inherently vicious to begin with because they don't know any better, but she can kind of like tame most of them and sort of like get to an understanding with them. So we get this insane fight scene where Panther Hecate is biting, and I thought, oh, is this how she loses an arm? Is this how we lose an arm? But she still got her arms at the end of the scene, like she still has them.
Yep.
So I want to put out a wonderful panel though, is after the fight's over and Cersei goes out to get her, there's a panel where you can just see in the mist the eyes of the panther just like in like in the background, and it's just such an eerie shot, and Diana's on the ground holding the turtle, like she's successfully protected the turtle but she's kind of hurt and scared. It's just a really strong moment. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I love how Diana's like, you'd be proud, Mama, I did good. And then she holds up the turtle and it looks like the turtle's smiling. Says, this is Nico. And it just drives the point that this Wonder Woman, despite being raised in hell with all these vicious creatures, she's not going to let an innocent creature get hurt. You know, she doesn't care if she has to fight a god and ward it off.
Actually,
you know, that is what...
Isn't the god that Cersei speaks to in the next scene Hecate?
Yeah, I assume that was the same one because of the glowing eyes, right? Because she says you need to intercede with Artemis. So I'm assuming this was the test. Because they're priming her.
I didn't think this was the same god. I thought it was 2 different gods.
Yes. Says, please, Hecate, you must intercede with Artemis. She's just a child. If anything, it's too late. Everything we do is to fashion her into a weapon, which is...
I know this one's Hecate. I'm not arguing that. I'm saying that I don't think the Panther one's Hecate as well.
Now, just because it's not named, or what makes you think it's not?
Because there's nothing visually between the 2 of them that makes sense. That correlates them. I mean, the eyes are glowing, sure, but the eyes are a different shape. They're not exactly similar in any way.
And on League of Comic Geeks, they usually have it listed on with the characters, and the only god they have listed here is Hecate. I mean, they don't have the Panther listed.
Maybe it is,
so,
but I assumed it was two different gods. But the conversation that Cersei has with her, though, is very interesting.
Yes.
Because it's very much this idea that Diana was created and is being groomed to be this weapon, presumably against man's world. At least that's what I assumed based on what she said. This idea that, because Cersei's like, wait, if you want her to be this weapon, then why did you make her so kind? Why did you make her so, this, and this? And she's like, well, because they'll never expect it. They'll like trust her and they'll let her their guard down. It does almost feel like she's been kind of like bred for a bad purpose that I assume Diana herself is going to fight against once she realizes what that purpose is. Yeah,
because that's who she is at her being, right? And it's like... She is just inherently good in a world that's not, which again is kind of Wonder Woman, her vibe, right? When she comes to man's world originally in the main continuity, it's a world that she's completely alien to because it's everything that she's not. And so here, the fact that she's being, primed for this, for sinister reasons, it feels like are the gods going to try to use her to overthrow like patriarchy, right? Like... What's the deal here? Because we know that the Amazons are gone, and then that was a word she wasn't allowed to say, right?
Yeah, and obviously this isn't the first god that she's had an encounter with as a child, but this has been kind of a recurring thing. In fact, the name of this arc is like All of My Mothers or something like that, and it's kind of this implication that all of these like female gods are all, taking like their turn and like giving Diana some kind of lesson. Because remember, we had that great story where she went and helped the giant that was chained to the thingy.
Prometheus.
Prometheus, thank you. So, no, I mean, there's some really interesting stuff here with like building her up as a character. And then we go back to the maze, and she actually gets Petra, the siren, out, and she noticed that like technically she should be really powerful and be able to use her voice to like deal with the bad guys, but she's not speaking, which suggests there's maybe something wrong with her. Whether that's physical or whatever, but she gets back to her portal and sends her back through. So Steve and the others are greeted with this woman, this blue woman walking through a portal and then collapsing in front of them. So they're very conflicted. But Diana doesn't go through. Diana's like, no, I promise, I'm going to go and get Ferdinand. I'm rescuing him too. Like I'm not done. I'm
a woman of my word. I'm gonna save everybody.
Yeah. So she uses a bit more magic to try and sort of like find her way, and leads her way back to Clea here. And the arc gets kind of trippy here. It gets very kind of psychedelic because she's seeing the world in this very different. Well, it's not even just her stuff. It's she's been drugged. There's a
haze coming up to the floor of the labyrinth, and she walks through it and starts tripping balls.
Pretty much, yeah, but she still sort of finds her way to Clea and Co. So we get Sherman's really playing with the layouts and some of this trippier stuff where there's a lot of circles, lots of curves, that kind of thing. Well, the big cliffhanger.
All the fishmen are like falling apart, looking like they're like wispy.
Yeah.
Instead of having a more solid form.
And the cliffhanger, and she's still kind of out of it because she can't really make sense of what the creature's saying. But Clea sends in some sort of flame being to fight her, who may or may not be someone that we could guess. I don't know, but it's not visually immediately striking me as that's definitely this character.
They have they're a fire-looking being, right? We're getting the orange with a hammer.
Is it possible it's the blacksmith?
That's
character?
What I was thinking. Yeah. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Aphrodite's husband, Hephaestus. There we go.
That's the one.
I had to go through. I don't know if she would have a god chain down there, so maybe it's somebody associated with Hephaestus, right? But there's a scientist down there that Clea has, and she kicks them down the well, knowing that Diana's going to go after him, and that's how she ends up in this pit against this fire creature. And Sherman drawing a hazy Diana here, where her eyes are barely open. It's really, really getting through the fact that she's not at 100%.
Yeah, even the lettering adds to that, because the lettering is like repeating letters, and it's all kind of wavy and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So no, this book continues to be great. Layouts are really solid. I really appreciate like the different types of layouts depending on the scene. So most of the stuff in the maze, at least before she gets drugged, there's a lot of like, you know, straight lines. There's a lot of like angled panels that feel like they're cut out of paper or something like that. But then when you get to the flashback, all of a sudden you've got a lot of rounded edges. You've got some more kind of creative layouts that feel a bit more flowy, but they're very different to the curves and the trippiness of the later stuff after she gets dosed with the drugs.
Because the flashback ones are very ordered, right? When you get to the fight with the Panther, you can still follow it sequentially. Yet when you get to the psychedelic stuff, they all kind of blend into each other, and the perspectives are off. Like the first page, it's full of her in that state. It's her in the circle, and it's almost like a fisheye kind of effect.
Yeah.
And it's very disorienting, and so it's added a different level to this labyrinth that we were so used to having the straight angles and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Just again, Hayden Sherman is my favorite current artist working at DC. Between this and Dark Patterns, just constantly, and neither of the books are similar, right? Like the layouts on both are unique to their books. So just really, really good work across the board from Hayden Sherman.
A lot of effort goes in from Sherman to make sure that different places or different moods feel different because of the layouts before we even get to what the actual art like is doing in terms of the, you know, the faces and like the performances, if you want to call them that. So no, very good. What are you giving Absolute Wonder Woman, Matt?
I'm giving this do I give it a 9? I'll dial it back. I'll give it an 8.5.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with just a straight 8 on this one. Really liked it still. Great stuff. I'm loving the backstory that they're building up, and I like the sort of heroic sacrifice of Ferdinand and Diana's determination to go back and save him. Love all that stuff.
Real quick, I know we shouldn't be doing this out there. Do we think now, I just had this thought because of all the other Darkseid stuff, do we think she is meant to be the weapon against Darkseid? That the gods are coming together? Because she's everything Anti-Life is not.
It's possible, yeah. She could be she could be. Oh, I don't know though. Well, maybe, yeah, maybe, because like as much as Hecate said, like she's, you know, going into like, you know, their world. Technically, man's world in the Absolute Universe is Darkseid's world, if you want to look at it that way. So that would work, I suppose.
I just had a thought with all the other Darkseid stuff this week.
It makes more sense. It makes more sense than any of the other Absolute characters, I think, right now.
And with the way that her characterization here, it's very much in line with Superman. That when we come to, you know, this kind of outsider perspective, raised by, you know, she is who she is because of how she was raised, in a way. And if, you know, Superman in the main continuity is supposed to be the opposite of Darkseid, what if the absolute version is Wonder Woman, where she's kind of in that Superman role there, you know? Just great stuff. I love this book so much.